So, welcome to Northern Powerhouses, our business success stories series of interviews, where we discuss with local business leaders their backgrounds, their successes and challenges, and what's really driving them forwards. And this morning, I'm delighted to have with us Steve Harvey-Franklin, who's the CEO at Maratopia. So, Steve, firstly, thank you for spending a bit of time with us. And if you'd like to introduce yourself, Maratopia, what you do, how you help people, that would be wonderful.
Sure. Yeah, as we said, I'm Steve, CEO and founder of Maratopia. We're essentially a search marketing agency. We help people get targeted results on Google, getting people positions on specific words that are going to help their business. And we also design and develop websites for them as well. Again, the particular angle there is designed ready for search so that they get the best possible results. Recently also become part of the Think Again group. I'm also a shareholder and CEO in that, and we're a collection of creative marketing agencies, and we're looking to kind of grow that group as well. There's a lot of synergies between us. We've got a social media agency within the group now, and we've also got a video production agency which facilitates kind of TV advertising and explainer videos.
Wonderful. So that's a very broad spread of opportunity. And what would you say, Steve, what makes the sort of A-grade client for you? Who are the people that you best work with?
We like to deal with we call it challenger brands.
Yes.
So they might not be high street, but they've maybe got ambition. So I guess in a phrase, it's we like to do business with challenger or ambitious brands. So size isn't necessarily that important. I think the key thing is that there is the ambition and the drive to want to get there.
Wonderful, wonderful. And so if we sort of start with looking backwards, and if you could tell us a little bit more about your background, how you got into business and why this particular one, that would be great.
Sure. I mean, probably turning the clock back to the 80s and 90s, which probably seems quite a long time ago now. I was involved in a small stock photography business in London, and it comprised 6 different parts of the business, 2 of which were profitable. So we kind of shed those unprofitable bits. One of them was the black and white archive, which didn't really fit with the stock color photography business that we wanted to do. So we sold that one off, made a little bit of money on that, which gave us some money to invest into the business. At the time, the advertising industry, which was our main customer base, was growing incredibly. We grew organically at 40–50% per year. And then we started to acquire other stock photography brands. And we grew successfully from a small business that was probably turning over $250,000 at the time to probably by the mid-90s in excess of 100 million. Acquisition. And then that acquisition, there were a number of other people growing as well. There was Getty Images, who'd acquired Tony Stone, and Image Bank, who are some of our major competitors. And I think Bill Gates at the time had got an agency called Corbis that he was also growing. So there were some big players in the game. When we got acquired, I've been part of that successful management team. We've grown the business internationally. We've won the Queen's Award for Export Achievement. We suddenly I was kind of like, out on a limb, when you get acquired, they take out the management team. We're big boys, we understand that. And I was looking for something else to do. And I went along to a franchise fair, and I noticed that there was an internet marketing consultancy called WSI. And I kind of signed up to that in the early noughties, and I grew that business for a time. We kind of grew out of that model. We became their leading European agency, and probably only second only to one agency in the world. And I think it was time to move on, really. So I developed my agency. And kind of here I am. I think the big difference really for us was the the approach. So as the stock photography business had developed, it also started to digitize through the 90s. So suddenly transparency film became digitized. Suddenly stock photography catalogs became CD-ROMs, which became websites. So we developed essentially one of the first B2B transactional websites for the agency. And that gave me exposure to things like, web design, SEO. But people used to talk to me about, about the website itself, about the technicals, about SEO, but didn't really tell me about the business benefits. So I figured that it would be great to be an agency that talked to business owners about business and not the technicals of websites and SEO. So I guess that's the one thing we've carried through our development, is that we want to be forensic in our analysis, so that, and break down the facts so that business owners can understand the evidence that we're putting in front of them, but also understand what it is that we're delivering for them. It's the delivery of leads and sales, not some imaginary positions or an amount of traffic that doesn't seem to turn into business. It is about generating leads and sales for business.
Brilliant. Yeah, it's a real important learning, is that people really aren't interested in what we do. They're only interested in the problems we solve for them, i.e. what we could do for them. And yet I find when we're passionate about our businesses, and it's true of business coaches as well, is we often talk about coaching rather than the solutions in it, and people just want to know that things are going to get better, and whatever that looks like. So
what are you going to deliver for me?
Absolutely. Brilliant. So I mean, when you were growing up, is this what you foresaw for yourself, or did you have other plans when you were younger?
Well, probably, as you might be able to tell by the color of my hair, I predate the internet, and so this could never have been in my imagination at the time. So I guess growing up, the things that seemed likely was to be something like and this depends how young you go, but the two options for me as a young boy were Lego designer or astronaut.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And it's interesting, only you say pretty, because we had a brief chat beforehand, and we've sort of followed similar sort of generations and stuff. And when you think back to sort of pre-career, I mean, I remember I didn't do computer studies at school, but I had a couple of friends that did, and that was literally, I think they were doing a program to land a rocket on the moon, and it was all just teletype stuff. You had to put in coordinates and burn fuel and stuff, and it was literally just paper-based typing. There was no visual display.
I remember those. I remember those. And I think when I was at university, I think I had a Sinclair, was it ZX81?
That's the one. Yep.
I had 1K of memory. I'm trying to code it, with 1K. You do learn, to keep it brief.
It was really interesting. Yeah, I remember I did a lot of work at Drax Power Station. We were operating in the power industry. That was our niche. So we did a lot of work, different power stations. And I think the main boiler control system there was originally written on about, would be 512K or something. It was literally, when you think about how much a computer program how much space it will take now, the amazing ability to have programmed that at that base level was just incredible for me. So totally agree. So looking at your career and the businesses that you've grown, what are some of the biggest challenges that you've had to overcome, Steve?
I guess it's I mean, every day's got its own challenges. We work with lots and lots of different businesses. One thing I missed out in my career, précis, if you like, early on, was I did have also a spell in management consultancy as well. So that did play into the business that I'm now in. That you get to understand businesses quite quickly, understand what the drivers are, pick up the key issues in a business, so that you can be fluent in what drives a business. So every time I've got a new client, I think getting up to speed with that business and what's going to work for them. I kind of like I like solving puzzles.
Yeah.
And it is, I can sometimes visualize different cogs and things turning in my head as I'm doing stuff. But when you've got things that you're trying to satisfy, so that is maybe a client's budget,
Yep.
a client's ambition.
Yes.
I'm thinking, well, how do you get those two to meet? And for us, it's no good trying to work on a million things on a low budget or a challenging budget. We have to consider what can we do that's going to give them benefit in a measurable and understandable way, so that they can ring fence that growth and understand, well, I spent £1,000 here or £2,000 here, and I got this amount of value back. And it's I guess it's a truism in marketing in that well, who doesn't mind spending money on marketing that works? And the key thing is to say, well, that works, and if we prove that works, then who wouldn't spend more? And so that is the key, really, is getting that relationship between investment and return on investment.
Brilliant.
So that is our challenge, is to break that down, to understand that, and to sculpt a campaign where we can deliver. An SEO, for example, is a long-term thing, but there are there are sometimes low-hanging fruit, but we have to be quite concentrated and that we don't get distracted from our mission, and that we concentrate on the delivery of that immediate goal so they can see the benefit.
Brilliant. As a business person and a business coach, it's music to my ears. It's one of the things we talk about clients all the time is, marketing is mathematics in terms of knowing that we've got return on investment. If we can't prove return on investment, then we've got a challenge. But in your point is absolutely right. If we could go to a cash machine and put £10 in and it spurted out £50, how many times would we go to that cash machine? And it should be the same with effective marketing. If we know we spend £5,000 with you and you return in effect, so let's say £10,000 in profit, we want to work with you as much as we can. And
the same goes for like Google advertising. Essentially you're stood outside a store with a bucket of money and saying, here's 50p, will you go in that store, please? And it's making sure that 50p is given to the person who wants something, rather than the person who wants 50p or just wants to browse. So it's identifying the need,
brilliant,
it to that person, and then them going into the store and buying and doing something.
Brilliant. And I've never had it put that way, and that's a very effective example, analogy, I think. And so, whether it's through challenges or and other successes you've had, what would you say are the biggest learnings you've got about growing a business, if you're willing to share them?
I mean, there's so many. I mean, I think every day is a kind of a school day, and what are failures and challenges turn out to be learning points and successes down the line. I think things like the basics, like business financial control, I think are all very important. But it really is about the customer. We're in business for our customers. Our customers can go somewhere else. And that's why everything's got to be framed in what does it deliver for the customer?
Right.
How are we helping the customer? And that's why it's important to understand what it is we're selling, and what it is we're facilitating. So I think wherever possible, it being customer centric. And what we when we talk to customers and we look at customers' websites, or prospective customers' websites, and you see this probably quite a lot in maybe so like the manufacturing sectors and technical sectors, where they talk about certain attributes as though it's for their benefit, and So it's not about how clever the machinery is. It's what's it going to do for you. The cleverness is in the background, and that's there. You need it, but it's like, well, what problem are you solving for me, and getting that across, and talking industry jargon. I think it's important not to do that. And again, we try our best not to jargonize what quite technical things. SEO has got a lot of technical components to it and technical analysis.
Yes.
And we just try and make the analogies that resonate with people, because we do like to analyze and understand what is stopping somebody's site from being on Google or being high on Google, or other search engines are available. And really a good way to look at that, for example, is to say, well, what is Google going to reward? Well, have a look at who Google has rewarded in your sector. So we look at the people at the top, we look at their site, and we do a gap analysis between, the stuff that's clearly working because they're at top for these different keywords, and everything else. And that might be something to do with the speed of the site. It might be to do with the way the site behaves. It might be to do with their content. It might be to do with their backlink profile. And you look at all those things, but you have to explain those in very simple ways that people understand. So why is Google interested in speed? Well, most searches are done on mobile devices. So if Google sends somebody to a website that doesn't load on mobile or doesn't work, it doesn't reflect well on Google. If you don't say what you do, Google doesn't know. I remember going to actually it was a business training company in Harrogate a long time ago. They said, why can't I be found on Google? We're a management training company. And I said, well, number one, you don't mention Harrogate anywhere. And if you want to be found in Harrogate, Google doesn't know you're in Harrogate. You haven't got a Harrogate number, you've got a national number. You haven't got your address, and you're a Harrogate business. So number one, tell them you're in Harrogate. Number two, you don't mention management training anywhere, and you're a management training company. You talk about enablement, empowerment, and a lot of buzzwords, but you actually don't say the word management training anywhere. Brilliant. So the first thing is say what you do, just to start off. So just breaking things down so that people understand that Google's very clever, but there are limitations, and you have to tell Google what it's about. So that's how we try and break things down, really.
Brilliant. Now, again, really simplifies that process. When we work with clients, we talk about the classic sort of feature benefit analysis, and we do feature benefit problem we solve to make sure it's the problem we solve we talk about rather than feature benefit. But we start with the so what test. So we empower people. So what? Well, what does that mean? What does that mean? So that they can do more work and be more effective, and you can make more profit, or whatever that is. And it is so easy. And it's not like it's it's so easy to get locked into being passionate about what we do rather than the problems we solve. I think in general.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think I know you're aware we're a business coaching organisation. I'm keen to know who the best coaches you've worked with, whether that's business, sport, or life in general. Who've had the biggest influences on you?
That's interesting. I'm going to cover business and then sport.
Great.
I'm quite passionate about sport.
Brilliant.
Look, business-wise, I mentioned this stock photography business I was in. There were two people who ran the business. One of the people had a very good way of distilling things. I'm just going, can't hear the noise, just going to do that. Very direct, very no gray areas, just kind of like black, white, doing that. And that helped me a lot to kind of cut through all the noise of what's going on. And his partner was almost the opposite of that. He was very much into the soft skills, superb negotiator, very patient person, really understood people and understood that you need to frame things from that person's point of view. And I learned through that time an awful lot about both of them, and tried to cherry pick the best. And as they are kind of opposites, trying to pick the best from both of those can be quite difficult. Then if we come to sport, Sports always been a fair bit of my life. I used to do a lot of running. I'm a member of our local tennis club now, and kind of started that quite late in life as a 50-year-old at the time. But also as I've grown up, my two of my kids have become coaches.
Right.
Both online coaches. And my daughter Naomi, she gets a lot of business through Instagram. She's got a massive following. She puts a lot out on social media, and it's just lovely to hear the truths that come out of her mouth now, having been kind of my daughter and young. And my son is actually my personal coach. So
brilliant, brilliant.
He trains me a lot, and I think that the great thing about that is that, well, this will probably resonate with yourself, really, is that you've got to have a plan.
Yeah.
You've got to measure your progress. It can't be too ambitious, but it's got to be challenging.
Yes.
And you've got to celebrate your successes, and you've also got to be held to account. So all those things, I think, in sport also resonate in business.
100%. And as an organisation, we've allied ourselves a lot to sporting coaching principles. We work with a guy called Frank Dick. You might be familiar with. They're very, very.
Oh God, yeah.
So we have, yeah, amazing athletics coach. And I think did some work with cycling as well. But we have webinars with him probably monthly. But also, you might be interested if you're interested. Our next business conference in April, we've have some really interesting business speakers, including Gary Vaynerchuk, who I guess you would be familiar with, but also from the sporting world, we've got Jennifer Ennis Hill,
wow.
Daley Thompson, who again being the right generation, Daley speaking, and Kevin Sinfield, the England.
You've got a lot there. I mean,
please come along if you like to.
Legend after legend. I just finished watching Daley Thompson. There was a documentary, I think, on either Amazon or Netflix on Daley Thompson, which I really enjoyed.
Brilliant. And we just learned so much for obvious reasons. It is, performance in business. Performance is performance, whether it's in business or sport. The mental techniques are certainly the same. Obviously, the physical techniques are potentially different, but I think we can learn so much from sport, and we do.
Yeah.
And throughout your career so far, do you have any favourite quotes or sayings that you catch yourself using quite a lot, Steve?
There's a few. If I think about it, you've heard of the expression "glass half full" person,
yes,
or half empty.
Yep.
I do say this a lot, and I tend to think of myself as a glass half full person, even when the glass is absolutely empty.
Brilliant.
I think another one is just in the way you want to be treated. It's like treat others the way you want to be treated. That sort of. I probably think those two would be the ones that I kind of
brilliant
focus on. Yeah.
And I do think in general we have to be that sort of person, certainly glass half full. I find it very difficult to grow a business when we're assuming everything's going to fail. Although I guess that's what worry is. It's that worry that it might fail, but we've got to have that positive belief, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what would you say you learned about yourself throughout your career so far?
Sorry, would you say that again?
What would you say you learned about yourself?
Oh wow. I think it's not only about myself, but I think people in general, in that you tend to do well at things you like. I think it's important to recognize what you do like and what you don't like.
Yes.
And again, I'll take this back to sport a little bit. I used to run a lot when I used to live in London, and I used to run with a group of friends who used to live at the bottom of my road, and we would meet each other on a rainy morning at 6 o'clock, go out for a run, and I thought for a period of 15, 20 years that I actually enjoyed running. When I moved away from London back to Yorkshire, I didn't have that circle of friends anymore. And I'd still go out running, and I ran less and less and less and less.
Right.
And I started to realize actually I don't like running. What I liked doing was socializing with my friends.
Yep. Brilliant.
So running with a group of guys, it was just like sitting in the pub except healthy. And so that's when I took up tennis.
Yeah.
Because tennis ticked an awful lot of boxes. You've got a lot of speed, but it's very, very social.
Yeah.
And I think it's a truism from studies is that I think there was a study that if people who play tennis tend to live 10 years longer than other people, which is very interesting. Yeah.
Oh, that's really interesting. One of my best friends who's actually the master licensee for actual coach in the UK. He's a very, very big tennis player. With an incredibly strong will to win. So I won't recommend you ever play with him because he's an amazing guy who I respect a lot. But yeah, he loves it, and I know that's his primary form of exercise, and he's a very fit guy. But he just loves that. I'm sure he loves that social side.
I think coming back to business as well, it's like, well, it's easy to do the things you like.
Yeah.
And it's probably working out, I mean, I can do things I don't like well, but for a short period of time, I can't sustain that.
Yeah.
So I know that I've got a limited time of doing that, and then I have to find and either systematize it so it gets done automatically, create a little program for it, or get somebody else to do it. But I can put my knowledge into it. I can solve the problem, but I can't repeat. It. So knowing what I'm good at helps, and knowing what I don't like and therefore what I'll not be good at in the long term is also important.
Bang on. We do a lot of work in that with you won't be surprised to know with business people, because most people are doing a whole bunch of stuff they don't really like and they're not really good at, and often it's relatively lower skill levels, and it's like if it's lower skill levels, ultimately it's lower value levels. So there's lots of stuff we could delegate effectively, be happy, not just be more effective doing what we do, the stuff we're really good at, we like, but we're happier. It's like it's funny when people start. It's almost like the guilt of shedding ourselves of things that we really don't like, and it's like, well, surely that's one of the benefits you get as a business owner is you get to choose exactly how it is. So why would we then choose to do stuff we don't like is a bit us. And I think it was Brian Tracy said that the most effective organizations are those where most people spend most of their time doing the three things they really love and they're really good at. It sort of makes sense and is very virtuous. It's just, I think people think it can't be that simple, but it often is.
That's why the conversation with my kids about when they were younger, what am I going to study? What shall I take on at A level? Or so I said, well, do something you like and do something you're good at, and there's a good chance they're going to be the same thing.
Brilliant, 100%. 100%. And it's just like, therefore, that's the thing to do. And anything that you don't like, you'll probably choose not to be good at. Whether that's consciously or subconsciously. And therefore, let's get rid of it and be happier at the very least.
Yeah.
And so, looking forward, what does the future look like for you guys, and what challenges do you think you might face, if any?
I think in the search space, AI is changing a number of things.
Right.
It creates opportunities. It creates misconceptions, but also the Google search results are changing.
Right.
So that's quite important. AI presents a massive opportunity for all of us.
Yeah.
The misconception is that somebody can go create a web page for me that does this, that says that, and that. And it can do, but actually Google, who knows quite a lot about AI, as does Bing, goes, not having that because that's AI.
No, you're not going to tell me that.
So Google is interested, understandably, in original, authentic, authoritative
Brilliant.
content, not AI-generated content, because it can get that itself.
Yep.
So the authoritative content actually feeds the AI.
Great.
So in the same way as authoritative content was good for SEO, it's still good for AI. And the AI, even if it replaces the natural search results at the top, is going to be authoritative. And that's what we are now concentrating on, getting our customers is into that AI slot or the featured snippet slot or the top positions. And each of those positions is looking for authoritative content.
Brilliant.
So I think the AI thing is good. We don't use it to write content because it's not good enough content. But you can use it to generate ideas. Go and do some. Tell me 20 facts about this. You take the 20 facts and write something about it. That's fine. But it's the original content. It's going to be authoritative. In terms of other challenges, I mentioned kind of at the top. We've just started. I've been invited to join a marketing services group. There are 3 businesses in that at the moment, and we are actively looking for getting more businesses into that fold. So we're looking for small and medium-sized businesses to join the group. Essentially, there's a lot of synergies going on. Somebody who's a customer of a social media person is suddenly a very good customer for me. One of my customers might be very good for them. But it means that we can both be have our own identities, and we can, if you like, plow our own furrow. But we can also take advantage of this, almost like a super networking group.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, and that's great, isn't it? Be able to refer people that you know, like, and trust is really important, I think, isn't it? And that really works. And I'm interested to know what you'd say to anyone that was thinking of going into business right now.
I think it's really important. I mean, number one, I think we've talked about customer focus, understanding what your USPs are, but what that means to that.
Yes.
I think that is the translation bit. And I think if that was to be translated into, I'd probably on top of that, in terms of advice for anybody, I would probably say that I think it's really important to take responsibility for your actions. I think by that I mean, if things go wrong and things work against you, you have to accept responsibility and take the learnings. And so, if, for example, I have a terrible year, and if I go, the market went against me. If I go, my employees were no good, I become a victim.
Brilliant.
And having a victim mentality is bad, because you can't do it. All you can do is be a victim. It happened to me.
Absolutely.
Therefore, it's going to happen again. If I take the view that I didn't read the marketplace, or I didn't put in sufficient provision for the market changes, I hired the wrong people, or I didn't train them properly, then that can't happen to me again, because I've understood it and I've done something about it. So, being responsible and taking responsibility and doing something about it, I think, is so important. And I think I read somewhere, or I heard somewhere in a documentary, the difference between serial entrepreneurs and somebody who might call themselves an entrepreneur, but they kind of just struck it lucky, rode a crest of a wave, but then didn't try to do it again, but failed. But the serial entrepreneur might be really good at one thing, and then they might have a failure, and they'll take those learnings and then go again. They'll learn from those failings and be twice as successful the next time. And so I think those things are really, really important in terms of advice for anybody going into business or in life.
It's one of my favorite quotes is I think it's a Japanese proverb, which is fall down 7 times but get up 8. And I think I'm probably on 13 or 14, to be perfectly frank, but it's that getting up that's the successful thing. It's the falling down isn't the failure. It's the failure to get up. That's the failure is just keep going.
In tennis, I think winning the right points is more important than the number of points, and also winning the last point.
Yes, and there's a great quote, and it's I mean, there's two or three that I know. Michael Jordan probably is the root of some of these quotes, but I think it's Roger Federer talked about his stats and how he's lost, almost as many points as he's won, but he won the right ones.
Yeah,
And he didn't let, and again, it's exactly what you've just said. He didn't let that failure go into the next shot, the next point of the next shot. It was gone. It was done. I now focus on this one, and yeah, absolutely fascinating. And if you just looking back yourself, is there anything, if you started again, is there anything significantly that you do differently, do you think, Steve?
it is so difficult because your past takes you to where you are.
Yes, that I feel the same.
And so if I did something that avoided something, an issue or an error or whatever, then I wouldn't have learned that lesson. So I
Yeah,
might still be waiting for it to happen. So it's very difficult. But I think if I look at myself now and I look at the team I've got a very experienced team of marketers that work for me, multidisciplined. They work exceptionally well together. I've got nobody in the business who's been with me less than 5 years. I've got
really.
somebody who's been with me 10 years. I've got somebody who's been with me nearly 19 years.
Well,
Uh, and I can't turn the clock back 20 years and have that. But I also think back at maybe some of the characters, some of the disruptive forces, the tolerance of that. And again, I turn that on myself and go, well, maybe I shouldn't have tolerated that. Maybe I should have trained that person better. Maybe I should have systematized something a bit sooner. Maybe I should have made this more customer centric, more customer focused earlier on. So just think, but that's that. But I only think that way now because of the way I thought then. And
yeah,
so, I think you say, well, can you? I think I heard it on the radio yesterday or this morning. It's like somebody wanted to try and learn something from somebody else. Tell me all your mistakes, and I won't make them. And it's like, well, if you make nine women pregnant tomorrow, they're not going to give birth in a month. You still have to learn, and it's the learned lessons that cut deepest and teach you the most.
yeah,
So it's very difficult.
yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. And finally, if what advice would you give to an 18-year-old you if you were able to go back in time? This is probably pre-business, but what would be looking all that way back?
Oh, uh, I think I'd repeat some of the stuff I've said already. That might
Yeah,
be a bit of a boring answer, but I think it is that uh, taking responsibility
yeah,
uh,
great.
for yourself. I think probably I don't want to sound old manish, but I think it is really important for people to be uh, independent of thought, to actually learn from what's going on and not be victims, not to expect everything on a plate.
Yeah,
You've got to go out and make things happen. And I
yeah,
think I think I think that's it. Go out, make things happen. Yeah, you're going to make mistakes, but you're going to learn from them. That's it, really.
yeah. I remember our founder Brad Triggers is a very very successful guy. Told me many years ago, and he said because I believe I'm as successful as I am because I've made more mistakes than anybody else.
Yeah,
Not despite it was the
yeah.
learning of the mistakes and the willingness to to make a mistake, take action, do things, and learn from it.
And I think the other thing is that I will admit when you're wrong. Admit if you've made a mistake.
Yep.
Have an open house in terms of making mistakes. If we've made a mistake for a customer, I,
Yeah.
I will, admit it, be transparent, and do something about it, and
100%.
turn it around.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, Steve, it's been absolutely fascinating and really interesting talking to you today. Thank you so much for your time. For anyone that's watching would like to get in touch with you or Maratopia, what would be the best way to do that?
I'm very happy for anybody to drop me a line. Then we can fix up a time to talk. My email address is Steve at maratopia.co.uk. And I'd be very happy to talk to anybody.
Wonderful. Well, I say thank you so much for your time today. Hopefully, we might catch up again in another 6-12 months and just see what's next, what the future looks like. But for now, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.